What's going on, boys and girls? This is my very delayed match review from the weekend where we lost 2-1 to Aston Villa. Villa scoring with the very last kick of the game to defeat us 2-1 and move to within 3 points of us in the Premier League. It also allowed Man City to get within 2 points of us, which is concerning. But the reason why I've delayed putting this video out is because I really don't know what I want to say. I don't know how I feel. I don't know what it means. And so this video probably won't make a lot of sense, if I'm being honest. Despite the fact I've now sat on it for almost 2 days, I still don't have a clear grasp of how I feel about this one. The first thing I will say is I'm not going into full-blown panic mode. This team has built up enough trust from me to feel like we shouldn't be getting all panicky right now off the back of a loss. I do believe that this team is different. I think there's a different mentality within the team this season, and I do fully back the players to go on and win the Premier League this season. So I'm not going to jump off that ship off the back of one loss. I think what makes this loss frustrating is it's off the back of some not so great results in recent times. Like if you look at our last 5 Premier League games, we've only won 2 of the last 5. We drew against Sunderland, another last-minute goal conceded. We drew against 10-man Chelsea. And, of course, we've lost on the weekend to Aston Villa. So it doesn't read well from a form perspective. I think if you apply some context in the sense that when we played Sunderland, they were 4th, flying high, great form. It was away. Chelsea, again, off the back of a 3-0 win against Barcelona, were in 2nd place. It was away from home, but they were with 10 men for the majority of that game. And then, obviously, this game, Aston Villa are the most informed team in the Premier League right now. 3rd position, basically never lose at Villa Park. It was never going to be an easy game. So if you apply some context, you can somewhat justify those results. But my biggest issue with Arsenal this season has been when we've come into these big games against these challengers or rivals for the Premier League, whether it be Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, now Aston Villa, we haven't been able to find a way to get the win. And that's been disappointing because I think you want those types of results against the rivals to show that you are better than them. And we haven't been able to do that this season. If I look at the starting 11, look, I don't think there was really much else that Arteta could have done with the starting 11. I said in my match preview video that in order for me to feel really confident that we could get a win from this game, I wanted to see both Saliba and Rice starting. So I was very disappointed to see that Saliba wasn't even in the squad. Before the Brentford game, I think Arteta said that him and Trossard were a matter of days away. So I don't really understand what the delay with Saliba was. Maybe he's had a setback. Maybe he's not as far down the line as Arteta suggested. But yeah, it was disappointing to see Saliba not in the starting 11. I said that even if Rice was 60-70%, he needed to start. And I think that's what happened. Rice is one of those players. He'll play no matter what the situation. I think he did well throughout the game, but you could tell that he was properly not up to match fitness for this one. He's played a lot of football these last few weeks, and when you factor in the fact he came off injured in the Brentford game with a calf issue, I think he was just trying to do his best to kind of put himself about for the team, which is valiant. In terms of our defence, look, obviously we're missing the best centre-back partnership in world football right now, and that's going to affect any team. I don't care what people say. But I looked at that back line and I was okay. Timber is one of the best defenders full stop in the Premier League. It doesn't matter where you play him. He's always rock solid. So I had no issues with him in the centre-back partnership with Nkapie, who I also think has been pretty solid since joining. Ben White played well against Brentford, and I think he deserved his chance to have another shot at that right-back position. And Calafiori is our starting left-back. So, I thought from a defensive point of view, we had enough, although not ideal. Rice, Supermendy. I know a lot of people were quite pissed off that Odegaard has been kind of jammed back into this team at the expense of Eze. Obviously, Eze was put onto the left-hand side for this game. And look, I have mixed feelings about this one because although I'm not Odegaard's biggest fan right now and I don't think he's particularly playing that well, I also don't think Eze has particularly grabbed that shirt while Odegaard's been injured with both hands. Outside of the North London derby where he got the hat-trick, I don't think Eze's been that great. I really don't. I expect way more from Eze. So I don't think he can have too many qualms about being kind of pushed out of that 10 role, because I don't think he's done enough to make himself unmovable from that position. And on the left-hand side, I would still rather have Eze than Martinelli or Madueke right now. So the only other position that was kind of up for debate was the whole number 9 position, in terms of would Gyökeres be brought back in, or would we keep Merino up top? He obviously went with Merino, and again, I don't think any Arsenal fan would really argue too much about that one. So from a starting 11 point of view, I felt like we did what we could do. I thought we started the game quite well. I thought we took control of those first 5, 6, 7 minutes, and I think that quietened down the stadium quite nicely. Villa still looked dangerous. Ollie Watkins had a couple of moments where he should have done better, particularly in and around the 10th or 11th minute, where he went through on goal and shot directly at David Raya. That definitely should have been Aston Villa 1, Arsenal 0 within the first 11 minutes, which would have been disappointing. We obviously had a goal disallowed for offside. It was a nicely worked piece of play, but Saka was obviously a little bit offside. I think Villa grew into the first half, and I think they shaded us in that first half. I think they got the better of our midfield and were probably working through us a little bit too easily. Matty Cash was getting way too much space on our left-hand side, and that came down to the fact that both Eze and Calafiori, they're not natural touchline players. So both of them are quite inverted. Calafiori ends up in all sorts of crazy positions, and Eze, because he's naturally a central player, does drift in quite a lot. And so what that was doing is that was creating so much space for Matty Cash to run into. And there was that first warning where he got through and got a shot away, which was superbly blocked by Declan Rice. But then a matter of minutes later, the same thing happens. Villa clip a ball in from the left. I think Timber got a glance to it, which kind of rerouted it perfectly into an oncoming Matty Cash, who rifles it through David Raya's legs and into the goal to go 1-0 up. And if you look back at that goal, Eze takes a couple of looks at Matty Cash and for whatever reason decides not to get closer to him. And ultimately that just left Matty Cash in a ton of space and gave him plenty of time to kind of line himself up properly and get the shot away. And ultimately they go 1-0 up. So for me, the blame falls on Eze on that one completely, and that was disappointing. You go into half time, 1-0 down, away to Villa. Not an easy assignment. I was really happy to see Arteta make some changes at halftime. I think one thing I really want to give credit to Arteta for this season, he's been way more proactive with his substitutions. I think in seasons gone by, he's been way too slow to make changes. So I was really happy to see him bring on Trossard and Gyökeres at halftime. I think it made an instant impact to the game. I thought we started the second half really well. We were in not complete control, but we definitely looked better. We had more intent. There was more speed about our passing and our play. And ultimately, we got the equaliser after about 7 or 8 minutes. A nicely worked piece of play between Odegaard and Saka on the right, who I personally think were our two better players in the game. Saka cuts it back, crosses it in. I thought it was going to fall to Gyökeres in the middle, but I think one of the Villa defenders got a slight foot to it, which led it onto the path of Trossard at the back post, who taps it in, and all of a sudden it's 1-1 with 30 minutes to go, and you're thinking, right, now let's go on and actually win this game. But on too many occasions this season, we get that goal, whether it's to go in front or to level up in a big game, and we kind of go back within ourselves. I don't know if this is a tactical thing. I don't know if this has been instructed by Arteta and the management team, or if it's just the way that the game evolves, or it's something the players are doing. But on too many occasions this season, whether it be Sunderland away where we went 2-1 up, as soon as we went 2-1 up to Sunderland, we did the same thing. And ultimately they scored with a last-minute equaliser. Against Chelsea, I think we got the equaliser and then went back. Against Liverpool, we never really tried to win that game, in my opinion. So it was disappointing to see us do the same thing in this game. I don't feel like Villa completely dominated us after the equaliser. But what happened was, because we kind of took a step back and stopped trying to be threatening from an attacking point of view, all of a sudden the 50-50s were all going Aston Villa's way. All the loose balls were falling to Aston Villa players' feet. And that allowed them to kind of take back control of the match, and it put them in the ascendancy again. And it got to a point where with 25 minutes to go, you're sitting there going, this just looks like Arsenal are now trying to hold on. And it just gave Aston Villa all of the momentum. And although it wasn't wave after wave of attack and they weren't creating clear-cut chance after clear-cut chance, they just had more of the ball. And they were the team looking to threaten. They were the team that looked like they wanted to go on and win the match, which was really disappointing to see. And I think that's where the majority of my frustration comes. Now, again, can we apply some context to this? Can we say we've played 5 incredibly tough matches in a very short period of time? Yes. Can we say that we're dealing with injuries? Yes. Can we say that there were a lot of players out there like Calafiori, Rice, Timber, who've played a lot of football and were probably exhausted? Yes. But again, in these big games, you want to look at it and you want to go, I can see our players want this more. And it was another one of those games where it just felt like the Villa players wanted it just a little bit more than us, which really pains me to say. Outside of the Odegaard long-range shot, which was a brilliant shot and a great save by Martinez, and that last bit of play from Rice on the left where he delivers a beautiful ball into the box. God knows where Gyökeres was, but you'd expect he would have been on the end of that. It goes all the way across goal, and Madueke tries to get it in with his right foot. It goes well wide, and that was probably the only 2 chances that I can think of in the second half. Villa go up the other end. Nkapie, who I thought was quite solid, sloppy in possession, essentially just runs it out of play, and it provides Villa with one last chance to get the ball in the box and try and do something, which is exactly what they did. The ball ends up in the box. There's players everywhere. Timber's on the ground trying to block shots. The ball comes loose, and of course, as it did that whole second half, it falls to an Aston Villa player, and Buendia rifles it into the top of the net, and Villa win 2-1 to go 3 points off us in the Premier League title. And it was a gut-wrenching moment, I'm not going to lie. It was about 1:30 in the morning my time here in Australia when that goal went in, and I was devastated. I think from about the 75th minute on, I knew what was happening in this game, and I knew what we were trying to do, and I would have taken the point. I think when you wrap everything up going into this game and how the game was playing out, a 1-1 draw at Villa Park against an in-form Aston Villa wouldn't have been the worst result in the world. And so I was kind of there going, right, let's just get the draw and get out of here. It wasn't to be. If I look at individual performances, again, I'm not going to try and get too heavy on this one, because I think at the end of the day, we just have to take this as a bad result and move on. But individually, I thought Eze was really poor. I thought Madueke and Martinelli were borderline non-effective when they came on, and I think they really need to up their game. You know, we can't rely on the same starting 11 week in, week out. We have to see these fringe players, these substitute players, when they come on, they have to do something. They have to alter the game. They have to create moments of magic. And at the moment, I don't think they are doing that enough, or at least on a regular enough basis. As I said, I think Odegaard and Saka were quite good, all in all. I thought Odegaard, I thought he did some good stuff in the game. Defensively, I don't think anyone particularly stood out. Rice was exhausted, you could see that. Zubimendi was okay. I thought Marino was poor. Gyökeres, I'm really disappointed. The Gyökeres situation is concerning me now, because I don't think we are playing the way we need to be playing to get the best out of Gyökeres. You know, we're not putting balls in and behind for him to run onto. We're not creating any chances for him. And at the moment, he just looks completely isolated up there. And all I see Gyökeres doing right now is getting into kind of tug-of-war one-on-one battles with central defenders. That's all he seems to do, and it's quite sad to see. So I think we really need to rectify the way we play when Gyökeres is on the field, because at the moment, he's just not getting the service that he needs. That is a killer goal scorer that we have in our ranks, and we're not using him to the best of his abilities, which is disappointing. So yeah, like I said, I've got really mixed emotions. I still don't know how to feel. I still don't really know how to verbalize what I want to say. All I will say is that we were never going to go and win every match this season. That's not how football works. We are probably going to lose a few more games between now and the end of the season. What I want this result to do for the Arsenal players is I want it to motivate them. I want it to put a fire in their belly again. I want them to listen to all the comments and the suggestions that we're going to bottle it again and that we are not the team that everyone thought we might be. Don't forget, less than a week ago, people were asking the question of, are we the best team in the world? Can this team win the Premier League and the Champions League? So let's not forget how good we've been to put ourselves in the position we're in. So the players just need to learn from this, use it, and go on another winning run. That's all that we can do. And I have full faith that they can do that. It's been an incredibly tough run of fixtures since coming back from the international break, or even before if you factor in the Sunderland game away before that. So I think all in all, we just have to kind of say, right, that's done and dusted now. We have got some incredibly difficult games out of the way already in the season. You know, we've played City, we've played Chelsea, we've played Newcastle, we've played Liverpool, we've played Aston Villa. All of those games pretty much except the Man City game have been away from home. So now we just need to dive into this Christmas period, get back to winning ways, pray that we don't get any more injuries, and pray that our injured players come back as soon as possible. It sounds like Mosquera is going to be out for a minimum of 6 weeks, which is pretty devastating. So we've got to pray that the likes of Timber, Saliba, and Nketiah can stay fit during this period. And let's just get into 2026 with a lead, get our players back, find our feet from an attacking sense, and like I said, go on another run and prove to the others that we are who we think we are. So yeah, it is what it is. I'm not going to melt. I'm not going to waver. I still have full faith in this team. It was just a disappointing result off the back of some not so great results in recent weeks. But now all we can do is look forward and get back to winning ways. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Chin up, Gunners. Chin up.